Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be giving you guys my honest thoughts on the 2024 election polls between Biden and Trump, because I think this really needs to get addressed, and there's people both on the right and the left who need to be called out for what they have said and what they think currently right now. And I'm going to be showing literal reasoning and evidence, proof as to why the polls are absolute trash and we should take them for a grain of salt. But before we get started, make sure you guys are subscribed as we are approaching 3,000, and click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my content. Also, we have memberships. You can find the link to that in the description section. Now back to the topic of today's video. I have literal reasoning as to why the polls suck, whether you're on the right or left, doesn't matter. It's literally common sense, and it's literally factual proof in this video. That's basically what it's going to be based off of. So as you can see on 538, we're going to be using Real Clear Politics, RCP, and 538 as an example in today's video. So Texas is going to Trump by 11 points. How is it that Texas goes to Trump by 11 points at the same time from 538 that Trump's winning Ohio by 9%? That literally makes absolutely no sense. This alone is one reason as to why the polls are trash. Why is Trump performing 2% worse in the state of Ohio, in which he won by a greater margin than the state of Texas back in the 2020 election? Trump won Texas by 5.5% 4 years ago. Meanwhile, he won Ohio by nearly 9%. So if Ohio was redder than Texas was 4 years ago, why is Texas all of a sudden redder than Ohio in this year's election cycle, according to 538? This makes no sense. There is no realistic shot that Trump wins Texas by 11%, but for some random reason, Ohio goes to him by 9%. This literally makes absolutely no sense. Why is Texas safe, but Ohio is likely? So Ohio literally should be more red than Texas would be. And that is literally one factual evidence as to why the polls suck. And right here is an electoral map in which some polls are showing. And even in Washington State, a poll literally had Trump winning this by 5%. 5%, guys, for Trump in Washington State, a solid Biden state. This is not going to go to Trump, and it's not even going to be close. And the sample size was only like 600 registered voters or whatever. So that alone should also be a red flag. And people actually had Trump barely winning Hawaii, guys. Hawaii, out of all states, in which went to Biden by 30%. 30%. And all of a sudden, Trump's winning it by like 1 to 2%. Like, literally, that's just outrageous. And even a state like Minnesota, Trump is also up in the state according to some new polls. This is also not going to happen. Biden is likely going to win Minnesota as he did just 4 years ago. And here's the reasoning. Biden was underestimated, believe it or not, in the state of Minnesota back in 2020 by nearly 3%. As of June in 2020, at this point in time in Trump's presidency, Biden was supposed to win it by 4 points. Guess what? The real number was 7%. So Donald Trump's not going to win Minnesota. And if a poll has him winning it by 2%, you apply that polling error, Biden actually ends up winning this state. And obviously, I know that elections are not decided by actual polling errors, but it's an idea, and it's what I'm trying to tell. And also, another example. This is outrageous. Why is North Carolina more red than Florida is? On RCP averages, Donald Trump's winning North Carolina by 8%, a likely margin. But get this, at the same time, from Real Clear Politics, Trump is winning Florida by a less margin than he is in North Carolina by 7.6%. This literally makes absolutely no sense, and they are both five-way races. In what world will Florida be less red than North Carolina would be? Back in the 2020 election and 2016, North Carolina was less red than Florida, but all of a sudden, according to RCP 2024 polls, say that Florida is going to be less red than North Carolina. This is completely unrealistic. This is exactly why the polls are trash. It's common sense. Donald Trump literally won Florida by a greater margin than he did in North Carolina in 2020. And now all of a sudden, RCP is saying that's not going to happen this time around. That's just not going to be the case. And now we go back to 538. Why is Donald Trump winning Wisconsin by 0.3% at the same time he's winning Pennsylvania by 1.3%? He's winning Pennsylvania by exactly 1% more than he is in Wisconsin. This is literally not going to happen on election day. Literally, they're saying that Pennsylvania is redder than Wisconsin is. That is not true. Back in the 2020 election and 2016 and 2012 and I believe like 2008, Wisconsin was more red than Pennsylvania is. But according to 538, that's not going to be the case. Apparently, according to 538, 2024 polls suggest that Pennsylvania is going to be redder than Wisconsin. In what world? We are living in reality. How is Wisconsin less red than Pennsylvania is? That's Biden's own home state. Back in the 2020 election, Biden won Pennsylvania by a greater margin he did in Wisconsin. And Wisconsin is getting more of a redder state, while Pennsylvania is still a little bit on the left side. So with that being said, I don't get how Trump wins Wisconsin by 0.3, but apparently he wins Pennsylvania by a greater amount. That just makes no sense. Why is Wisconsin tilt but Pennsylvania lean for Trump? It should be literally flip-flopped. It should be the opposite. Wisconsin should be redder than Pennsylvania. This is exactly why I just don't trust the polls. At the end of the day, ultimately, I really don't. Let me know your thoughts. Do you trust the polls? And after my reasoning, are you persuaded that the polls are trash? This works both ways. Back in 2016, Hillary Clinton literally had a 2 in 3 chance of winning the election, roughly like 66%. And guess what? She ended up losing it. And then how about 2020? Let's see if they can get it right this time. Well, guess what? They didn't. Biden was overestimated nationally. He had a 90% chance of winning, but yes, they got that right. But still, the fact that they overestimated Biden and overestimated Hillary Clinton just goes to show you how trash these polls are. And also, in the 2022 midterms, which we were supposed to, get this, supposed to, keyword, see a red wave in which we did not. Democrats maintained control of the Senate. For example, in Pennsylvania's Senate race, Dr. Oz was supposed to win. Did he? No, he lost. And John Fetterman performed very well. He ended up winning by a few points ultimately at the end of the day. So this alone also overestimated Republicans and Dr. Oz. Now I understand that this is not a midterm, this is a general election, but this just goes to show you that even though we look at 538 and RCP or Real Clear Politics, they might not be accurate. Dr. Oz did not win, so this alone lied to you. And also, in Nevada, same thing. Adam Laxalt was supposed to win. He was literally leading in majority of polls from 538. Guess what? He lost to Catherine Cortez Masto. So yet again, I understand this is a midterm, but still, it works both ways, on the left and on the right. Doesn't matter. So these polls also lied to you. And now I'm going to call out some things that people on the right and left tend to do. Because Republicans in 2016, after results, said that the polls are trash and they will never trust them ever again. But guess what? In 2022, when the polls were suggesting a red wave in the midterms, Republicans all of a sudden went back to the polls and they trusted them. And guess what? The polls lied. Democrats did tremendous in the midterms. And then they bashed the polls right after the midterms. And now in 2024, Republicans or right-wingers are now going back to the polls because all of a sudden Donald Trump is destroying Joe Biden. Well, what if, just like in the 2022 midterms, how overestimated Republicans, it's going to overestimate Donald Trump this time around? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but what if that's the case? I'm just warning these Republicans out there that bashed the polls in 2016 because they're wrong, and in 2020 because they overestimated Joe Biden. But they went back to the polls in 2022 because they thought it was going to be a red wave, and it exploded in their faces. And after the 2022 results, Republicans said that they would never look at the polls ever again. And now, when Trump is leading right now, they go back to the polls. And I'm going to be honest. What if Joe Biden does win re-election and we face that reality? He gets 270 electoral votes, winning the 3 Rust Belt states, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, but still losing Arizona, losing Nevada, losing Georgia. He still can win re-election with 270 to Donald Trump's 268. So what if that is the reality? We should take polls for a grain of salt. It truly matters on election day. Whatever the polls are saying, just forget about it. You can consider the polls as a little thing, but still, what matters is on election day, and people need to vote, obviously, if you are able to. And even for Democrats, back in 2016, after those results, they did not trust the polls because they underestimated Donald Trump. And then in 2020, when Biden was supposed to destroy Trump, Democrats went back to the polls, just how Republicans did in the 2022 midterms and now, because all of a sudden Trump is winning. And then Biden was overestimated in 2020, just how Hillary Clinton was. And then in 2022, the Democrats say forget the polls because Republicans are supposed to have a red wave, and that does not happen. So then the Democrats come back to the polls. But when Trump is leading in 2024, the Democrats say forget the polls. So you get what I'm coming from. These are all factual things is what I'm trying to say. So that's pretty much it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Did I persuade you? Do you think that polls are trash, just like me? Let me know all that in the comment section down below. And one last final reminder before I close out this video is to subscribe as we're approaching 3,000 and click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my content. Also, we have memberships you can find the links at in the description section. Thank you everyone for watching.